The information provided here is for general informational purposes only and should not be considered as professional advice. We strongly recommend consulting with a qualified professional to address your specific needs. We are not liable for any decisions made based on the content provided. Elevate, an audio series by Above It. Master your meals, quick nutritious recipes for your busy lifestyle. Available on Amazon and aboveit.com.au. Here's your host, dentist, investor, mum and coach for health professionals, Dr. Vicky Prokopiou.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of Elevate, where we aim to lift your spirits, ambitions and success to new heights. Today we're thrilled to introduce a truly remarkable guest, Monica Watt. Monica is more than just a guest. She's an inspiration, a leader and a transformative force for all those lucky enough to cross her path, including myself. And I've had the pleasure of being alongside Monica as well for many months now. And her journey is so inspirational. With over 2 decades of experience in HR and business spanning the private, public, government and non-for-profit sectors, Monica brings a wealth of knowledge and insight to the table. She's not just the founder of Incredible Buzz, and you can find the links at the end of this video. She's a beacon for those seeking to find their footing and to soar in the business world and beyond. Monica's philosophy is built on the foundations of honesty, integrity, respect, and freedom, values that she applies in every interaction and strategy. But what truly sets Monica apart is her unwavering commitment to empowerment, particularly of women, focusing on their leadership. Today on Elevate, we'll dive into Monica's unique perspective of growth, leadership, and personal development. And Monica, you've been featured in financial reviews, business, websites, publications, People Matters, Inside HR, HR Daily. Congratulations and welcome here today.
Thank you, Vicky. It is great to be here and great to be on the Elevate program. And yes, I cannot tell you how amazing it is and confronting it is to hear your own bio, your own accolade. And when I think about my own leadership journey, and yes, I have been in all of those publications and continue to be in some of those spaces. It's quite remarkable the impact of what my career and the leadership journey has. And so I am super excited to be here and talking with you and your people today.
Oh, I'm sure they've got lots and lots to learn from you. So let's get right into it. Could you tell us a little bit more about your background and the leadership experiences that have shaped your journey and to where you are today? I'd love to hear it.
I was going to say, how long have we got? Probably not. So I'll give you like a soldier's 5. So I've been in HR for more than a couple of 2 decades now. I actually started 20 years worth in hospitality. So I'm very service-based. I'm very much a can-do kind of person. Those that know me know that I just get shit done regardless, and there's literally not a thing that I could not or would not try. The journey, my most recent experience has been in the Group Chief HR Officer for an ASX-listed HR tech company, and that was the most dynamic 8 years, I think, of my career. We went through, what did we have? We had 9 acquisitions, and when I started, there was 35 people in the business, and we ended up, when I left last year, we were just south of 700.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. It's massive.
It certainly was. That was across Australia, New Zealand, Philippines, UK, US. So it was quite brilliant. So I have quite a global presence, global leadership role and activity. Heart-centered wise, I have been with the Australian Army Cadets for over 20 years, and I am the Assistant Chief Instructor in a national role. And that is part of the national training team developing the adult leaders across Australia. So
Congratulations.
So that's a brilliant side. And then that brings me to Incredible Buzz. And Incredible Buzz is a coaching consulting organisation. I focus on leadership and confidence. And I like to call myself the Chief Motivation Officer because that's exactly what it is. I'm going to kick your ass, I'm going to get you going, and I will rally when you least expect it to. And look, I often get asked the question about Incredible Buzz, so just give me a minute and I'll explain Incredible Buzz. For those of you that don't know about the humblebee, most people just go, oh my gosh, I'm going to get stung by a bee or anything else. But did you know that a bee aerodynamically cannot fly? Its body is too big and its wings are too small. Scientists do not know why a bee can fly, but it does. It defies it all the time. And to do that, it gives us our fruits, our vegetables, our plants. It creates life and gives us life. And so Incredible Buzz brings that dynamics into who you are as a human being and organization. The amount of times I hear from people that are saying, I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. And believe it. You know, we are limited by our own beliefs. And if we tell ourselves often enough, we start to believe it. And so through Incredible Buzz, it's saying, if you then try something and decide you don't want to do it, then that's okay. But don't limit yourself by saying that you can't. Be like a bee. And as I say, incredible is not just a word, it's actually you. And so hence, here we are. And I'm now with Incredible Buzz. And now I get to share this with everybody, you know, not within one specific organization. And it's just been brilliant. It's a brilliant journey.
Oh, it seems so rewarding as well to see those who come under your wings, speaking of wings, just elevate. Absolutely. I've got to put that pun in. We've got to put some little emojis up, like little maybe, I don't know, fireworks. I say all the dad jokes. That's me. If anyone knows me, dad jokes, can't finish stories, but super fun. Yeah. And, you know, I've been around you long enough to know you absolutely embody this motivational positivity, which is just gorgeous.
Well, I like to think, you know, going through, you know, one of our, you know, the Gallup strengths, some of the strengths training that you and I have both done more recently.
Yep.
And like positivity is in my top 5. Like I'm the queen of positivity. I'm all about connections and relationships. My activation is all about how do I motivate, how do I kickstart, how do I get things going. Positivity is what I amplify. You know, what is it and what do we need to get to? Because I'm all about the future. What is it that we can do? What do we need to do? How do we get there? I love being in the helicopter and focusing in of what it is in particular that we need to be achieving. And then when I think about it, ultimately, my ultimate is I am the queen of adaptability. The greatest thing about being a leader is going through the school of hard knocks. The people that are watching this are bringing to the table. They've already got a brilliant foundation for us to build on and to build their resilience. You know, so when you think about mindset is the foundation, resilience is the walls that we use, and then leadership is what flourishes and helps a business and people to grow. And that's kind of where you're at.
Absolutely. I love resilience. I've done a masterclass on resilience. If anyone wants a copy, just shoot me a message. Because even in the hospital system itself, there's a definite hierarchy, right? If you're an intern, you're right at the bottom. If you're a pharmacist like I was, you're even lower than that.
I come from the space of the HR lens, right? And it's like and I'm coming from HR tech. HR, we have minds like elephants, just saying, right? And we'll remember everything. And so when we deal with organizations, it's about actually aligning some of our practices and behaviors. And it's our job to amplify and support each other because we need everybody to be successful. The biggest reason being is because people deal with HR all the time. Leaders deal with HR. Organizations deal with HR. The market deals with HR. Fair Work deals with HR. Right? The law courts deal with HR. So when you think about this, it's in our best interest. It's in our best interest that HR has a good reputation and is accessible. Dentistry is no different. The challenge that you have of people either not wanting to go to the dentist,
yes,
you know, and you know that whole stigma about dentists going to the dentist. You know, we've now got pain-free dentistry, we've got cosmetic dentistry. There's so many different dentistries types of practices. that we need to encourage people. So we need to amplify and help others to be more successful, because when they're successful, we're successful. They come to us.
Yes, exactly. And a community, the word that comes up for me that's flashing in neon lights is sense of community. We need to foster that and network and be around people who are like us, like you and I, who you surround yourself with. It's what you chat about and just being your real self, isn't it? Yeah.
It is, and the authenticity. You mentioned it when you talked about being in, you know, in the hospital system. Ego is dangerous. So ego has a really good place in who we are and how we develop and how we grow and how we get the competitive edge. There's no doubt about it. We need ego. To be business owners, to do what you're doing, to do what I'm doing, we need an ego. Because if not, we're not willing to build our resilience muscle. We're not willing to challenge our mindset. We're not willing to do all of those things. And that's our ego that's driving that.
Correct.
There's an intention that you connect your ego to your values, your vision and values. And where there's a disconnect there, that's where ego then can become destructive, narcissistic, competitive, volatile. And so it's the challenge is how do you balance that? And when you start thinking about the ego, when your ego is starting to talk about them, what they're doing, what they are, then that's awesome. Then that's because you've stopped focusing on yourself. But when your ego is flipped to yourself and saying, they're going to damage me, I'm not going to get more clients, I'm going to do this, that's when your ego is becoming negative. And that will damage your leadership, it will damage your relationships, it will damage your credibility, it will damage your clients, your service. There are so many things. And this is where dealing with ego is so fundamental. So I'm kind of, it's sad that you talk about, you know, the hierarchy. Remember, I worked in various and do work in various organizations with significant hierarchy and rank structures. So I get how that works. Interestingly enough, you know, a slight observation from my time with the Defence Force, working with the Defence Force for more than 20 years, is there's a rank structure and there's a hierarchy, but it's not a power hierarchy. It's not a power position play. It's not a power play. And the reason why I say that is because everybody across in every rank knows how to do one up and one down.
That's a really good thing, actually, getting the next person in line and to step in when needed.
Correct. Really good movie that amplifies that. It's called We Were Soldiers by Mel Gibson. It's one of my favorites. It's literally one of my go-to. I think I've watched it at least 50 times, maybe.
That's a good amount.
At least. I watched it again last week. I've got 2 copies of it, just saying.
I think I need to borrow one.
So when you're thinking about, you know, how to balance, you know, ego and hierarchy there, and how people management into leadership perceive hierarchy is very different than how hierarchy actually should operate, because hierarchy is about fundamental flow of engagement and success, as well as strategy, not power. When it's power, when it's impactful negative power, information wielding, the likes of that, that's negative and that's destructive. And so it's understanding how hierarchy is correctly used and applied in your business, in your relationships, that will either make you a great leader or make you a shit one.
Absolutely. And there's a fine line between being friends or friendly with your team. You've still got to have a sense of authority, don't you? But a friendly authority.
Well, as I've said, you know, I say this routinely, familiarity breeds contempt. You can work with some really great people, but you still have to performance manage them. And you need to be very comfortable and very clear, have very clear lines of delineation of saying this is work and this is personal. And you must be very, very clear not to blur the lines. And that can be hard as a leader, because you are caring for your clients and who they are, and you get to know who they are. You know, but they go away and then you see them and you go, oh, how's little Johnny going? Or how's Jane going? Or how's the new grandchild? Whatever else is going. as leaders with our people, we have to do the same thing. But we've also got to be really careful that there are lines that we don't cross. And also that we don't buy into their life, buy into their relationships, buy into that. When that occurs, that's when we can stop making the right decisions for our business and for our team, because it doesn't mean you don't want to be aware that they could be going through a domestic violence issue or whatever else it is. You still have a baseline of performance behaviours that you need, whilst you provide flexibility and compassion and empathy to the individual. It can't erode the behaviours of the business that need for it to be successful.
Correct. Because then your whole world goes crumbling down, and then your obligation to all the other team members, it's just been shot down, and what happens? That they've got no job. Their whole world's turned around.
Yep, correct.
Yep.
And I see that routinely. I actually see it routinely, and you might see this as well, when somebody is promoted up, or they become a practice lead, practice manager, or become a partner when they've been working in the business. You yourself, we've talked about this before, there's a difference in working in the business and on the business. Working with and for, working for the business versus with the business. There are different layers, and part of that is also understanding that mindset and behaviour shift that's required to know that my job now is for business success first.
Correct.
My people enable me to have business success. It's not the other way around.
You're listening to Elevate, an audio series by Above It, with thanks to Master Your Meals, quick, nutritious recipes for your busy lifestyle. Available on Amazon and aboveit.com.au.
When we think about what leadership is about, it's actually about starting with heart, right? It's starting with heart and saying, right, what shit have I gone through my life that many other people wouldn't know about? That's what it is. What is it that I do not tell people about who I am and how I operate? They know I show up, I am who I am, I do what I do. So what is it that my team members don't tell me? What is it that's happening in their world that I don't know? And being a leader is about being curious. It's starting with heart, but it's leading with curiosity. And the elements of that curiosity is creating a shared pool of meaning. And that shared pool of meaning is, what does it look, feel like, sound like for us to have a successful practice? What does it look like, feel like, sound like, behave like, act like, whatever the things of your, your visual, auditorial, kinesthetic, whatever it is, the way that you operate for our clients? What does it look like, sound like, feel like to prospective clients?
Yeah.
And so that shared pool of meaning is so important. I want you to think about, just think about a conversation you've had with your husband. Right? Because if we bring it close to home, it's easier for people to relate. Right? You decide, let's say you and your husband decide you're going to go out for dinner. And you go, awesome, you're going to go out for dinner. And you book the date, you book the time, and perhaps your husband books. You say, oh yeah, okay, can you book? Awesome. And he goes and books Thai. Right, and you get to the Thursday night and you're heading off and you think, well, you want Thai? Time. And so all of a sudden, hopefully not, but it happens. All of a sudden, you're arguing.
Yeah.
You're arguing over the same thing. You decide you wanted Italian. Well, where did we define the ground rules of what we were arguing about? Hang on, we both agreed we wanted dinner. We both agreed it was Thursday night. We both agreed, okay, it was 7 o'clock, whatever, 8 o'clock, whatever it is. But we're fighting because you didn't agree on what the rules of what your decision point. And this is where, as a leader, we assume incorrectly what our leadership style is, what our people need as leadership style is, What do they think communication is? What do they think good customer service is? What do they think feedback is? What do they think? Getting the baseline as a leader and getting clarity on how everybody should operate, how they should engage, how they should bring their whole self, how they should provide feedback, how they should stay back, how they should step forward. You actually have to define all those, because nobody learns it via osmosis.
No.
And when you think about it, like going to a restaurant because you haven't agreed on what restaurant.
It's unclear, right?
It's probably happening.
Yep.
Because we can all relate. It's like going on a holiday, watching a movie, or whatever else it is. Oh, let's watch Netflix and chill. And all of a sudden, he's watching that, and I want to watch that, and so that you're both back on your phone. So, our team members, as leaders, our team members are going through a Netflix and chills moment with us. What are we watching today? What does chill look like to you? Are we having snacks? Are we talking through the movie? What is it?
Yep.
And so if a leader in particular can think about, what do I need to be successful? And be with a lens that is always as a student lens, not as a master.
Absolutely.
Because, again, they are technical geniuses. But leadership is an ongoing craft development. Leadership is something that is always adapting. And the reason it's always adapting is because you might have a revolving door of team members and people. And when you think, with 8 billion people in the world and more than 32 different types of personalities, and then the 54 complexities of those personalities, which means on a good day and a bad day, you are dealing with a possibility of up to 40 different personalities from the same group of people that you're working with.
Yeah. You know what that flags for me is, well, if you're going through a revolving door, is it your selection process? Is it your training? Are people not getting what they need? There are so many things at play there, aren't there?
Yeah. When we're talking about revolving doors, and look, every employee, team member, individual, worker, whatever you want to call them, has a time and a place.
Yes.
And there's also synergies between that time and a place. And as a leader, your obligation to leading people and hiring people is to create a space that is creates psychological safety, helps to develop them as human beings, is a safe place to work, meaning technically a safe place to work, complies with the laws. That's a lot to ask for. But what it is, it's saying you want people to come to work to know they're going to bring and be their best self for you to have a successful business.
That's right.
You don't want them to wake up and think, who the hell can I piss off today?
Yep.
Because, John, the practice manager is a douchebag.
Yeah.
And when he's having a bad day, we all friggin' run and duck for cover.
Yep. And a lot of the time, the owner of the business, if they don't check in, they have no idea of these dynamics. And that's when you're like, oh, how did my business just go burning and crashing down? And it's their responsibility, right? And I hear it all the time.
Well,
and then,
you've got that element. And the thing is, you actually have that behind you. The thing is, we hire people because they're highly skilled, capable, right? The thing is, as a business owner, you cannot divest your responsibility of having a successful practice, having a successful business. You can hire all the best people in the world, but if you aren't recalibrating them constantly, if you are not going through your data of, why am I turning over staff? Why am I turning over customers? Why are customers not coming back? Or, hang on a minute, why am I going through so many supplies? What is it? Why is my inventory down?
Yep.
Now, it's checks and balances. You don't want to go in and micromanage. but you have to be situationally aware of how your business is operating. Business owners cannot divest themselves of the responsibility of running a successful business just because they've hired the right people.
Yeah. You still have to oversee the manager. You've still got to do that.
Well, remember, it's your business, it's not theirs.
Yep.
Want them to treat it like it's their own because they've got aspirations to be bigger and better and earn more money and know that they're going to be successful, that it's really good on their resume, whether they're going to own their own practice eventually, whether they're going to work for another practice, whether they're going to branch out to somewhere else.
Or you might offer them a partnership. They might be just the right person, and you go, well, we're expanding or we're scaling. It's time I want to offer you 10%, 5% of the business, and really clarify what that means for them and you.
But that's actually a really good point. And I hadn't actually considered that right now. I only obviously because we're coming through, but that leans into another challenge. That challenge is, if I haven't brought somebody through the journey of how the business looks, how it feels, what does success mean in the business? So transparency in business leadership is so critical, especially if you're asking for investors or partners or whatever else it is. You can't keep those things closed book, right? You just can't.
No.
Can't close the book. But you also don't want to share everything. So you're going to have to learn to balance. And I use the term familiarity breeds contempt. I'm starting to build a really good relationship with you, good dynamics with you. I think you're going to become a partner. So what do I need from you, and what do you need from me to possibly build that relationship, right? So you need some mentoring. You need to know how to run the business. So that means I need to know how to run the business.
Correct.
We need to be in lockstep. What is this looking like for us? And we're curious. Why is this happening here? You're open to being curious from questions from them. It's not saying, why do they always tell me this? Instead of saying, what's happening there?
Yeah.
Why are they telling me this?
Yeah, because they'll feel very unsupported if you don't act or at least investigate. That's when they go, I'm leaving, I'm out. And you might have lost the best employer you've ever had because they're not being nurtured or heard or appreciated.
And I just want to, for anybody who is, is either watching this or listening to this or take snippets from this, it's to know that you need to hold a mirror to yourself.
Yes.
And part of that mirror is, what type of leader did I need for me to be successful? I didn't know everything at the start. I developed my technical genius because I was practicing, I was watching, I was engaging, I was being taught, I was being mentored. Was it because you were being screamed at? Was it because you were told that wasn't good enough? Or was it because somebody was saying to you, that's really good. That's what can we learn from this? And I've seen it in many, many businesses, and I mean hundreds of businesses, where the first thing that occurs, and this isn't a leadership role, it's not, the first thing that a person who is in a leadership role but not acting as a leader, the first thing they will do is blame somebody else.
Yes. Yep. And they have to take responsibility and ownership, or they might need training themselves to fulfill their role.
So as a leader right there, you have to park your ego at the door. You have to. Leadership is not about us.
Yep.
Leadership is about the success of what we're doing and helping others to be successful. And those elements sometimes mean developing people or letting go of people. They might be a great person, but they don't fit you.
Yes.
That other individual, has got a great attitude, and can be developed. So you need to invest some time and energy in developing that person.
Yep. So, Monica, how do you pick if someone is a right fit for you, your business, your corporation, and the talents there for? Yeah. How do you pick that? I know there's a million things, I'm sure.
No, it's a really great question, and part of that does come down to your recruitment process in particular. Right, you can put a vanilla advert out, you know, or you can go with referrals. And so behavioral questions come in really well here. And the behavioral questions that you're going to work with are actually, how do I operate as a leader? How do I expect my practice to operate? And so the behavioral questions that you're going to ask has to lean into that. You wouldn't be interviewing them if they didn't have the technical skills and ability to do the job, right? So let's be clear. They've got all the qualifications, you know, they've got, you know, any other licensing and requirements, you know, they've done any of the other skills and attributes that you've got. You've got them in the door because they've got all that. What you want to know about is who they are as a person, what makes them tick. So again, leaders in general, good, bad, and the ugly, we tend to hire because we like them. They make
Yes.
us feel good. They were like, you know, so
They might be acting, right?
I was just going to say, I am an NLP, so neuro linguistic programming. I'm heading into that specialty, right? So that's one of
Amazing.
mine. So I coach people. I coach people in how to mirror, how
Mhm.
to model, how to look at how somebody responds. So when somebody says, that sounds like, so I'm going to encourage my individual to be saying, so it sounds like to me, whereas they might be, it looks like to me.
Mhm.
And so we get a disconnect, right? So they're starting to mirror and model. So what you actually want to do as a leader is, first of all, listen to the person that you're hiring. So tell me about yourself. So you're listening to their words, their verbiage. Tell
Mhm.
me what drew you, and it is a vanilla question, what drew you to this role? What do you see this role is going to give you?
Mhm.
Then you'll hear, it looks, oh, well, you know, I hope for this, it sounds like this, I want to feel like this, right? So then you're engaging with them. And as a leader, you can either mirror that back to them.
Mm.
Right, so there's lots of things. So getting that out of the way first, and that starts with them actually asking the questions first about who they are, what they're interested in. Be very careful not to breach any ER
Yes.
law.
Yeah,
You know,
no kids or
no
no.
family, no nothing. It's like, so tell me a little bit about yourself. If they bring that through, awesome. So what does your partner do?
Yep.
You
That's
know,
right.
so you can be, if they present it, you can work with it. Please don't ask them. Just
Yep.
don't.
Yep.
I've had many ER cases, and I've been into the commission various times for various things. So don't do it. What you want to do, first of all, and sorry, this is a very long-winded answer to your question because there are many layers of this.
I can see your mind working. You're like, what do I grab out that's relevant or not?
It is, what are your values?
Yes.
What are your values, your individual values, and are your values aligned to your business values? Because sometimes there's a disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
Again, what's the shared pool of meaning? What does this look like for us in action? Right? So then, hand on heart, when you're hiring somebody or engaging with somebody, you can say to them, this is what it means, this is how we operate here. Right? So then you're giving them a true, authentic side of that. So your values. What does business success look like for you? Right? Find out for them their aspirations, because
Mm-hmm.
then you can know if there are synergies. Now, I love people that are ambitious. I'm extremely ambitious myself, hence I'm a business owner, hence I work with executive leaders, hence I work with business owners for them to be successful. Right? That's it. That's my bread and butter, my jam. And I especially work with women, right? That's my heart center. When it comes to success, it's understanding that if somebody is ambitious and they do want to become a partner, okay, so how long does what does that look like for you? How long is that going to take for you? And it's not then all of a sudden saying, shit, that means they're a risk. Fudge, I shouldn't hire them.
Mm.
It's actually saying, wow, what can this person bring to the table? So values is one thing, ambition is another thing. One of the other components to think about is who they are and their life choices. right? Having worked across many organisations, and obviously we have job share, we have flex time, we have parents in the workplace, you know, diverse parents, single parents, blended families, you name it, so many other things. As a business owner, you have to be really open and honest with yourself about what your limitations and thresholds are. Again, don't breach ER laws.
And where would we find ER laws? Are they available online?
They certainly are. So Fair Work Australia, so fairworkaustralia.gov.au is your go-to place, and they are brilliant. You can ask pretty much any ER question, or you know, research and find any ER question. But if you also have an ER concern or challenge you'll face, whether you're an employee or as an employer, you can actually ask them a question. It might take 24, 48, 72 hours to get back to you, but they will get back to you. And they'll point you to the law. They'll point you to the law, or they'll just give you some insight. So it's well and truly worth that. So coming back to the next part, personality goes without saying, right? As I said to you at the start, you're hiring, we tend to hire for ourselves because we like them, they sound like us, look like us. But what I really would like you to do is consider, what are all the personalities and behaviours that you have in your workplace? I don't know whether you do personality profiling, whether you do extended DISC, whether you do Myers-Briggs, whether you do Gallup strengths, whatever else it is, whether you do VAX, the colours makes no difference. You ultimately want to understand the variety of diverse skills and abilities that you already have in your workforce. Yep. Because sometimes an organisation can become heavy on one side and not on the other. What you want to do when you're hiring the right person is, what do you ultimately need them to do? Right? Is it you have a gap in certain behaviours in your organisation? Do you have too many yes people? Do you need somebody who's going to be more curious? You don't want an agitator. You don't need somebody who's going to be a narcissist and give you shits.
That's right. That's right.
What you want to be doing is actually saying, well, I need somebody who's going to be a little bit more curious, somebody who's a little bit more determined. I need somebody who's more system oriented.
Yep.
I've got people who are really good at relator skills, but we really fall down in some of our admin. We're going to get to it, and then all of a sudden everybody's frantically doing stuff. Yep. So where do you need that individual strength? And I see this when it comes to specific teams. Let's say administrative teams, right? So you might have a group of administrative teams. Somebody is doing accounts receivable, some's doing accounts payable, some's on the front desk, and they kind of rotate in. And you can see when you know, Maddie is on accounts payable, right? Because the invoices are coming in and everything's done.
Yeah.
Right? But you can see when Maddie is on front desk, the vibe in the place isn't as good. And it's not saying that she can't do it, but it's saying her strength is there and there. So find out what your team strengths are and what your gaps are. So that's probably the one thing. And I think my final part in this element is, again, look in the mirror. No person that you're going to hire is going to become your savior.
Yeah, you don't want someone there exactly like you, as you said. You want them to fill in all the gaps and make everything run smoothly.
Yep. And the thing is, you know, most people will go, oh my gosh, I'm going to hire them, they're going to be able to fix everything, and then get disheartened when they're not.
Yeah.
Or they go, oh my gosh, but they were so great in the interview, and I had 3 interviews, they were brilliant. It's like, okay, but did you actually talk to them about their practice? Did you talk to them about their technical skills and ability? Did you? Yeah, you liked them. Cool, awesome, they're a great person. Did you ask them, are they able to work 8 till 4 every day? Did you ask them, we have split shifts, or we do this and we do Saturdays and Sundays? Did you ask them any of those things? Oh, no. I don't know. I cannot tell you how many times I have had a leader that's hired an amazing person, and they are an amazing person. but can't do the job that they were actually supposed to be hired for, because the leader looked at the piece of paper, then had a chat, really liked the chat, and went, cool, I could work with you. Cool, you can work with you too. That's the reason why.
Yep. And they don't know what they've signed up for. Yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it?
And it's actually more common than you think, which is why having more people involved in the interview process is really important.
Yeah, I've always brought in friends or like other health professionals, always had. And how many people would you say are great for a panel to interview for a small business, let's say?
For a small business, I get 3.
Yeah.
Right? You at least you could have 2 from the internal and just a third that's an outsider.
Yep.
Right? And you're talking to that individual and say, and the reason why you have that external, right, is the fact that there's no bias involved other than the relationship that they have with you. But it's saying, look, these are some of the challenges I've had. I've had a revolving door of employees. I keep hiring and I've still got gaps, in my system. So, can you bring that into the conversation? The other thing that's really good, worthwhile doing, is actually bringing in somebody like me, right? Somebody like me that actually is an observer in those. We don't participate. The amount of interviews that I have participated in to give the hiring manager feedback is not as much as I would like, but it's still been plenty. It's still been in the hundreds.
Yep. I remember when I was interviewed to get into dentistry, we had a panel of 3. Someone was really quiet; they were just watching. Someone had like a mean role; they just asked tough questions, and the other person was really gentle. So it was very interesting. I'm sure there was a lot of psychology in all of that.
Yeah.
And I remember when I first hired people in my first ever business back in 2011, and I was a new grad, fresh out of uni from dentistry. And one of my friends who already had multiple pharmaceutical businesses said, oh, I'll show you how it's done. So she guided me, and I was very fortunate to have that type of mentorship.
Yeah. Mentoring is a brilliant thing, and it's an essential part of being a leader.
Absolutely.
Both having a mentee and having a mentor. So I don't know if I would like to assume that your peak body has mentor programs, and if they don't, then it doesn't mean you can't, because like me in coaching, I know gazillion coaches. I've been more recently, as the chief HR officer, I know so many executives. So which means I'd know who to go and talk to.
For all jobs, right? See, I love mentoring and coaching health professionals. So that's my thing, because I never got it from our dental body. Now they've got the new grad program. So I highly recommend that if you are someone who's got the time and you can volunteer and be a mentor, but being a mentee as well, it's so important. Or reach out to me, because that's what I do. I absolutely love it. So, and likewise with you, Monica, being with leadership in HR. Oh my gosh, so many health professionals don't have the knowledge of HR. So I'm going to take all I can from you.
It's interesting you say that. Many organisations, unfortunately, don't bring HR on until they hit over 100 employees.
Yep.
And yet all the damage has been done before then. Right. So my advice to anybody who's starting out, bring in a chief HR, even if it's on a consulting basis, to get your systems and processes and any software correct. You might need them for 3 months, you might need them for 6 months. That's all that you need them for. And then they can hire in the people that you need. The thing is, most organizations, the first thing that they'll do, and given the fact that I've had 16 years in HR, is they bring on somebody to recruit. And they go, we've got HR. Talent is not HR. And so again, recruitment is not talent. And so let me be clear about that. Recruitment is hiring people. Talent management, talent is about what is their journey, what's their career path, what's their people experience in your job, in your organization. So again, business leaders or new, especially when they're just starting out, and go, oh my gosh, a GM, it tends to be the GM's job. They're hiring everybody, and they do this, and they do all the performance management, and they do the reviews, and they do, if they have reviews. Um,
True.
all of all of those things. Oh, hang on, you're shit. But hang on, I haven't given you any feedback, but I want to let you go. Okay.
Yes, yes.
So be very clear that people are your greatest asset. It goes without saying, but they're also your biggest danger and your biggest challenge if you don't get it right. The two fundamentals of business, sales and service, right? Both are done by people, but the service is ultimately done by people. And so when the amount of times that you might say, but I can hire somebody else, or they can step across and do that. What does that mean for your business? What does that mean for your customer service? What does that mean for your brand? What does that mean? The bigger you get,
Mm-hmm.
the more your brand is more important. And so that means your leadership brand, your employer brand, as well as your commercial brand. And part of those, they all have to be in lockstep, because the customer experience has to match the employee experience, and that has to match what the brand is saying in the marketplace.
You're listening to Elevate, an audio series by Above It. Thanks to Master Your Meals, quick, nutritious recipes for your busy lifestyle. Available on Amazon and aboveit.com.au.
You're looking at business owners, practice leads, who are either going to step into that space, are leading practices, and again, technical geniuses, but need to also diversify and become business genius at the same time. And if not, that's okay. You've got to make sure you hire the right people to do those things. But your job is to hold them to accountability. So you need to know and check in with them on a weekly basis as to how things are running, and be curious.
Absolutely. And that's what I do now that I've poured myself outside of the business to work on the business. It's given me that vibrance, and I really enjoy seeing my team grow, because I want to see them grow, even if that means leaving me and going on to the next job, which is at a different level or sideways or completely different. I never take things personally, always end things on good terms, and I'm so excited to see others really excel in their life.
But when you think about being that tyrant, and just going, oh my gosh, but I'll do it this way, it doesn't mean you can't change. There's a saying, you can teach, old dogs new tricks. Of course you can.
Yes.
So when people think about leadership, they either think they are a leader or not. They often relate it that it's a title, but it's not. It's actually a behavior, and it's a learned behavior. It's a developed behavior. And when people are technical genius, and I've seen this in corporate world, there are two camps, and we've got to follow the line of where it's automatically, I'm coming into and I'm being a leader. I'm going into a leadership role. And then you've got others that are technical genius, that have got so much growth, so much potential. People admire them, people follow them, they're their go-to people. And all of a sudden, an organization puts them in a leadership role. And they fall over. And it's because they haven't been scaffolded into it, because their zone of genius is the technical genius.
Yeah.
And there's often the assumption, and I've seen this in organizations, where just because somebody's a team lead or somebody's a really good, strong part of the team, that they promote them up, and then they don't scaffold them to become the leader that they've got. And so then things go pear-shaped, relationships erode, compliance breaches occur, so many things go wrong, all because they're a really good person, everybody likes them really well, they're really good at what they do, but there's a leadership gap.
Mm-hmm.
And that leadership gap can make or break somebody. It really can. All you've got to do is look globally, literally look globally at the politicians of the world, the movie stars of the world, whatever it is, the key players of the world, and see how they've all tweaked themselves over time.
Mm-hmm.
They stood for one position and opinion, and a little bit later they're not. And so this is where I think you practice managers in particular, they are technical geniuses at what they do. They wanted to go out on their own, no different than I did, coming from being a chief HR. dealing with leaders, working with businesses, going through mergers and acquisitions, all of those kinds of things. But wanting to do that more under my own banner of the way that I like to work. Give the way I want to give. No, but not being hamstrung to say you can or can't be like that, or can or can't give that for free, or can't do that. Run my own time, so I can have those mornings. And then all of a sudden we become business owners and realize, oh my gosh, I now work more.
Yeah.
Work. I still have to do the work, and I'm now going to manage people, and I'm going to run my business, and I'm going to be successful in my business. Oh
And
my
do
God.
my content.
That's exactly right. And in your space, and I've got compliance. So I've got health regimes, I've got compliances, I've got ER laws because I'm engaging with people. All of a sudden, where I was a technical specialist, and I'm talking about your business owners, your practice leads. My gosh, they all of a sudden they've had to then diversify their portfolio and don't have the skills and ability to do it. Doesn't mean they can't learn it, because that's what leadership is. It's a learned skill. But I see it time and time over again. I think I've gone through the baptism of fire, like I think you have. I've managed ops. I've managed millions of budgets. I've managed millions of organizations and people. And I see it when somebody doesn't want to either become a leader, yet they're a natural leader. And what does that set? And then those that become leaders that really should never have become leaders, and then their ego keeps them in that space.
Yeah. Yep.
That's dangerous.
So true. So true. Because like sales, leadership can be learned, as you said. And some people might give up, right? They give up prematurely without giving it a shot, or they don't have the support around them or someone to go, well, this is what leadership means. This is a mindset you've got to have. This is how you manage people. So you've got all of that, which is beautiful.
Yeah, I think there are so many elements. There are so many elements behind that that people take for granted. That they take for granted what their innate abilities are and what their geniuses are, and think, well, but why can't I do this? I've seen it time and time over again with leaders that will that beat themselves up because they expect themselves to be a certain way because they're so good at this. And I've come from the world of technology, right? So compliance, technology, heavy vehicle, so many different things that and hospitality. I had 20 years in hospitality. So other than the medical field, I've got the Defence Force behind it as well. So other than medical and retail, I've done pretty much all the others. And so when you think about, so when you think about how we can diversify ourselves, and same with when leaders decide that they want to transition to a new role, or transition to a new way of working, or transition their team, go through some change management. Some of the challenges that they face with is because they're a technical genius. They know what they do. They know their craft. In your case, they know dentistry. They know all the technology that comes from dentistry. They're ahead of the curve of some of those. They've got really strong customer service, and they've repeat customers, and they've got great referrals. But that's you operating as an individual contributor in your practice, rather than being a business owner and a business leader that's running a practice. And that's where the confusion can occur.
And that's the biggest transition I've had to make. It took me, I've been investigating it and working on myself, my leadership skills, and doing certain courses and qualifications to then be able to lead. And now it's taken me about 11 months to step outside of my business and work on the business rather than in it, because I never got taught any of that. And I know a lot of health professionals, if not all, we don't get taught business at university. I think in pharmacy, when I did it, we had 1 semester of business, but I didn't gain anything from that.
And that's not surprising. The thing is you can never learn enough about business, though. Let's be clear. The fundamentals of business, there are two things. One is sales and the second is service, right? If you
Great.
don't have sales, you can have a great service, but you're not selling it to anybody. And the service is your people component. Who are you hiring? Who are you engaging with? Who's doing your front office? Now, if you happen to be an individual contributor and business owner all in your own right, then you know what it is to, when Jenny comes in, who's often a cranky person, you know, and forgets anything else, and you know how to calm her farm down.
Yeah.
You know, and despite the fact that, you know, she's shit scared because she's coming in to the dentist, shit scared because, oh my gosh, how much is this going to cost me?
Yep.
So there's a whole mechanisms behind what Jenny is when she walks in the door. And you, as that individual person, as an individual owner and operator, can get that. But
Yes.
that changes the minute you bring in people, the minute you hire people. They're not you.
Yep.
They haven't built Jenny's relationship with you.
No, and there's a whole lot of psychology, which again, we don't learn in our trainings. And that you've just described happens every single day, where you turn them around or they've got other issues, and you just have to be compassionate and understanding and ask questions. Take that 5 minutes. That's what I do. I'm very personable. Or I'm like, I think you need a rest. Let's put a warm towel on your face, give you some beautiful facial treatments for 10 minutes, and then we'll go on with the dental. Or do you not feel good enough to do it? We'll postpone. There's a lot of crap going on in everybody's life. They're in pain, right? And I'm not talking tooth pain. I'm talking they're in pain, illnesses, family members, a lot of stuff you wouldn't have any idea about.
Yeah. And as a leader, now we're talking about, you know, your customers, your clients, right? But let's be clear, as a leader, you have the same responsibility to be doing that with your team. That you have to also care for them in the same vein, that that you do your customers, that you do get to know who they are, and yet they might need a warm compress as well.
Absolutely. Like, you might see someone you feel is underperforming, or they're rocking up late to work. Something's going on. If that's not their usual self, sit and make the time, isn't it? And that's being a great leader. I now regularly meet up and mentor my team. I obviously pull them up on things in a really nice way. We have our morning huddles, and there's this constant contact. So I might be not chairside where they're used to having me, but I'm at work. I pop down basically every day, even if it's for 10 minutes, half an hour, an hour. And if there's a gap, I take the opportunity to mentor them and train them. I've got one last question for you today. That's so insightful. Business leadership, again, don't get taught anything about it. You just got to wing it. So bringing someone like you on board in a small, medium, big corporation business, I can totally see the value in that. And I wish I had known you much, much longer before. So now I know what something could be missing in my business to support me. And look, I know a lot of HR individuals who manage big companies in HR, but I think the fact your values and my values align really nicely, which is lovely. And those listening, you might go, hey, I really want to see what Monica's about. And look, book a chat with Monica. Head on to her website, and we'll put the links there as well for the incredible buzz. Now, last thing, what are 3 things that health professionals can take on board right now with regards to anything that you think are really important? 3 things they need to know with HR, with leadership, with anything that you just feel like you need this, that they can walk away with today.
Okay, I've got to hold my fingers up.
Because
I'm like to go, okay, and then there's this, and then there's this, and there's. So 3 things that health professionals should be focusing on, especially let's focus on those that are becoming leaders or are in leaders. Leadership is a role in itself, and that it is separate from your technical role. And so like you master your technical genius in your dentistry craft or health craft or whatever the profession you are, you need to do the same in your leadership. So that's one thing in particular. They are 2 separate roles, and you need to treat them as such. The second point is again, it's probably around that individual development. It's okay to not know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I would encourage you to get a mentor. I would encourage you to get a coach. I'm sure there are coaches within dentistry, I'm not sure if they're just technical, but if you're looking at leadership, there are so many different types of coaches. I'm a confidence and leadership coach. That's my specialty. You have mindset coach, behavioral coaches. There are so many different types. My foundation is transformation coaching through confidence and in leadership. So find one that works for you, but get a mentor. Get a mentor, and the mentor is a safe place for you to be honest. Same with a coach. We don't judge.
Mm-hmm.
We don't judge. We help you find the pathway inside of yourself, because you actually already most likely know the answer. And we just help you discover the truth of that, and then some strategies. But a mentor will actually help you in the business craft of where you're at. So a mentor that's in dentistry, in the health profession, that's already done it before, or you're aspiring to be.
I'm standing right here in the dental and health profession. So,
exactly right. Vicky, you're a great one. And I am so loving seeing your energy and your sharing, and your willingness to open and engage and just give to your community, to build a community. So I think that's the one thing. The third one actually leans into that. Find your tribe. There is a community that is screaming for you, and you are screaming for it. Whether it's in any of the allied health, whether it's in dentistry directly, but any of those, find your tribe. Know that you can do more and learn more together. You can amplify each other more. You also know what it feels like to be inside your organization and inside your industry when it has, really tough times. And they also know the things that need to be celebrated, unlike me, who isn't anywhere connected to that. If you turned around and said to me that, such and such got some Invisalign, I did my first Invisalign installation today, it'd be like, oh, cool. And somebody else is going, yeah, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Because it's great, right? So find your community, find your tribe. So, coming back to that point, the three things: leadership is a different role, and you need to develop yourself in that leadership, and part of that is looking at yourself in the mirror, doing some self-analysis as to who you are, what you want to be. And it's okay if you aren't, perhaps haven't been a great leader today. It doesn't mean you can't be, because leadership is a muscle that can be learned. But ultimately, when you're thinking about your, that sense of community, that sense of belonging, that tribe, building that, and the mentor.
Mm-hmm.
A mentor will go a long way. And even more important, to develop your leadership muscle, right? Get a mentee, right? So you become the mentor to somebody else. I have two mentees and I have my own mentor. I actually have two mentors. And so you can never have enough of those. So there's my quote.
Oh, that is so insightful and really wise, Monica. I completely agree with you. And I want everyone here listening to join both our private groups on Facebook, because we have communities right in there that are waiting to nurture you and hug you. And as Monica said, no judgment, just lots of cheerleading.
Yes, there is so much. I think that's the human default that we have, and the stories we tell ourselves. If you believe somebody is judging you, then that means you're judging somewhere. It's to something else, and it's likely judging yourself. If the amount of times I would say to a client, trust me, they're not thinking about you. They're thinking about you, thinking about them, thinking about you.
That's confusing.
It's a cycle. Most people are just worried about what the next thing is going to come out of their mouth, that they're going to sound right.
Yes.
The wrong thing about communication. And so just know that life isn't forever. We're here on this earth for a period of time. And for that period of time, we're here to grow, learn, adjust, and adapt. Be curious, be the best kind of person that I am, to leave that, whether it's a legacy you want, or a generation behind, or whatever else it is, or just to be a good human being. That whole element means we have a do-over every day. Like literally every day we have a do-over. And, for me, go and watch Groundhog Day. Go and watch Groundhog
Oh
Day.
my gosh, yes.
Go watch Groundhog Day. That literally is what life is about. It's, if you are choosing to get stuck, it means you're stuck in your story, whether it's in the past, whether it's in the present, it's in the future. It means you're stuck. And going, to develop those skills, find a mentor, find your community, you'll get through that in spades.
Yeah, I think it's time that our industries and just generally stop focusing on enhancing clinical skills, getting better, being better than someone else, making more money. Look within, and the help is there. When you start inquiring, start working on you, that's when everything else just falls into place, doesn't it, Monica?
It certainly does. It's kind of like a domino effect. And look, I have no doubt that in your industry, like in mine, in the HR tech world, technology itself, look how fast it's going. Look how fast everything else it is. In a world where our community is concerned with the amount of technology, the way we're going with technology, and dentistry is no different, with pain-free dentistry, everything else, my gosh, I'm of an age that I used to have amalgam fillings, and no numbing cream for needles, versus now we have white things with lights and no needles whatsoever or anything else, and numbing cream. When you think about,
we trick you and we pretend there's nothing, but in a nice way.
I was going to say, that's exactly right. I'll never forget it. It's like, can I just give me the damn needle, thanks. I don't need the cream. No. I just put the damn thing in. Anyhow, I think coming back to that point, it's remembering the person that is in front of you is the key word. There is a person. It's not technology. It is not digital. It is not technical. And so they are coming to you for your technical genius. They know that you can do that, and you can upskill and develop that all the time. In a world that we are so digitally connected and yet so disconnected, the thing people want from you when they come to you is you as a whole person. Your people as a leader, who you are as a person, that you're going to help them to become a better person, have a good career, get paid well, have a good life, go home, rinse and repeat, sing Kumbaya and do it all over again.
Correct. They want you, the authentic you, because that's what we're missing these days. And that's how you establish rapport with your clients, your patients, and your team.
Yep, that's exactly right. So that's it from me.
I want to deeply thank Monica for her time and her expertise today. And I know that you have gained such invaluable guidance and inspiration from Monica Watt. Follow Incredible Buzz, follow Above It, join our private groups, reach out to Monica or myself or both of us, get a very beautiful chat, and just find out what's possible for you. Start being curious, as Monica said. I want to wish you lots of success, Monica, in all your endeavors, and keep helping people, keep up your beautiful spirit. And I know that we'll be connected for a very long time. Lots of love from me.
Thanks, love. I appreciate it. And remember, everybody, incredible is not just a word. It is you.
Absolutely. From the Queen Bee herself.
You've been listening to Elevate, an audio series by Above It, with thanks to Master Your Meals, quick, nutritious recipes for your busy lifestyle. Available on Amazon and aboveit.com.au.